Uh-oh. You hear that? That's the tea hitting the pavement. Over here on Word on the Curb, we don't sip, we spill. Word on the Curb, where the tea hits the pavement. Let's get into it. It's Angela, your favorite internet bestie, and we got the vibe. We rocking the housewives, politics, and celebrity gossip, all wrapped into one show. Hello. I don't know why is it. Okay. I was one of the StreamYards doing something and I'm like stuttering. But anyways, hey, welcome to Word on the Curb, honey, with a T hits the pavement. I know I've been trying to do this live since Saturday. And every time I try to do this live, something happened. So my mother came over that I was going to do it around noon or 1 o'clock. But then I had somewhere to be at 4. So I didn't do it then. This Sunday, we was out and about all day Sunday. So I just didn't get that done. And then today I was waiting on my grandson to go to sleep. That's been the whole of it. I kept to push it back because that little thing was just acting a fool. And I said, I ain't going to never get this done. So I wanted to come in and let's talk about some of the things that have been going on. In my opinions, I'm not liking the way this looks. It feels like I'm moving slow. But anyways, my opinions on the situations. We have the issue of the Rick Child case, and we all know how that turned out. Rick Child was the guy who unalived the 14-year-old kid down there in, I believe it was South Carolina. So, the conversations have evolved into Asian boycotts. And how you guys feel about that? It's been a lot, and then over the weekend, 47 had the folks doing the some kind of kickbox or whatever the heck outside the White House. And the man gets up there and calls Michelle Obama a man. I'm like, Trump never ran against Obama, so why does the Obamas live rent-free in all of MAGA's minds? I don't understand it. It does not make sense to me. You had your beef with Biden. You ran against Hillary Clinton. And then Kamala. Why are we talking about the Obamas? They got out in 2016. We're in 2026. Well, I mean, they actually left the office in 2017. The election was in 2016. So yeah, that's some of the conversations of what's going on today. I mean, God. So I'm going to welcome everybody in. Welcome to Word on the Curb, where the tea hits the pavement. And like I said, tonight we will be discussing what everybody is arguing about. So buckle up. So in a recap of what had happened in South Carolina, we have Rick Child, who unalived 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton. And, the reaction to the verdict. The reaction was, Child said it was self-defense. This boy ran off. He never stole nothing out the store. Supposedly the child dropped a gun, and that gives him a reason to unalive him. I thought, wow. They said he didn't have any money on him, but most of these kids, even myself, I don't carry much money on me at all anymore. So, most of these kids, they do Apple Pay. They may do Cash App or however they are able to pay. He had 2 phones on him, so I'm pretty sure there was some wallets with some money on the phones. So, but being the fact that he didn't steal nothing, but yet he still was criminalized as a thief. And then on top of that, it was water. And he was ultimately unalived. We all see it as cut and dry, you know, just like we all when we saw that Rodney King tape, we saw it as cut and dry on, you know, them people going to jail, this, that, and the other. And it didn't happen. So it has everybody wondering, like, what is justice for African Americans? And then you have the case with Karmelo Anthony down there in Texas. So, you know, we're in a weird space here, but it's not unfamiliar. But it's making people like me, a Gen Xer, who, you know, I was born in 1972. I'm from Indiana. And my childhood didn't consist of a lot of, you know, I went to school. You know, our schools were diverse. You know, I went to the schools that were, you know, predominantly like what they consider in the inner city. But most of those schools were still predominantly white. So we, you know, here we don't have like no all black schools. And then the all black schools there, the schools that's kind of more black than any other place, they're kind of out because they bust the kids out. But I would say most of the schools, you know, I think the blacks population here in Fort Wayne is somewhere around 20%. You know, a lot of us, the ones who grew up here and their grandparents were here, most of them come up from Alabama. So, you know, we still have that small town feel here. Well, at least that's what I know of, you know. I don't even think about what I grew up, you know, because I really don't be out like that these days. But when we got the verdict, you know, a lot of people were like, what? But they said he was overcharged, right? So we had to deal with that. So then, you know, there was a challenge that was given about us, you know, daring us not to, you know, daring us to boycott Asian businesses. Look at these nails. I don't know if you can see it. They ratchet and mess. Look at that. A mess. I have not been. I would like to find black owned. And the reason why, because, you know, as, you know, coming up, I always wondered why the Asians had the beauty supply stores. And I thought, you know, because it seems weird. Just like if you were going to something that was all black, and the thing they were catering to, it'd be anything but black. So you got the Asians that have the wig shops, the beauty supply store, and it is catering to black people. And I always wonder why, when there was a black something, that it never did well. And I remember years ago reading an article in Ebony and how it talked about how black beauty supply stores did not do well because a lot of times the things that we were looking for, like, you know, Carefree Curl or whoever the hell it is, you know, I ain't gonna just say Carefree Curl, but like whatever we're looking for like perms or the stuff to maintain our hair was made in like Korea, China, or whatever, some Asian country. And a lot of times those Asian salesmen would not let the black stores be able to, you know, buy them wholesale from them. Or either they would mark it up. So a lot of, you know, as consumers, if we go to these black places and we see they don't have the stuff, you know, the products that we're used to, and as we see that the things they do have cost more, like, I ain't going over there, they ain't got shit, and then it costs more. Not knowing the whole reason behind Why does it cost more? Because the Asians are able to get grants that citizens are not. So then you have that situation going on. And the different grants is, helps the Asian person to be able to have not much overhead, whereas the citizen, especially the Black American, they would have to charge more because they got to somehow sustain themselves. So, when I read that article, now I would say that's been more than 20 years ago is when I had a Ebony magazine. It was funny because I had, I used to get these subscriptions. Like I got a whole bunch of subscriptions now. And when you get those subscriptions about different magazines or whatever, and then, I would get them and honey, I ain't read nothing. Then I said, well, I got all these Ebony magazines and Jets. I better start reading them. So that's how I actually found that article. So with that being said, have you guys decided to, I'm not going to really say boycott the Asians, but try to support a Black business? And I have found a situation where this lady was detailing why the Black nail tech does not do well. So we'll go over here and you get a little information about that. Okay, let's share the screen. Look, I ain't even been on here in a minute, so honey. Okay, share. So we'll go over here and this lady, she really gives us a good situation of how it works. And I thought, wow. Let me put this up. Here's up on the screen. Yeah, excuse me, honey. I'm halfway tired. I was trying to put that baby to bed. You hear me? Okay, let's go over to Instagram and we'll.
There's a lot of discourse happening right now about the Black-owned nail salons and beauty salons, and why aren't there any Black nail salons where you can just walk in? And I see lots of people asking, why not, why not, why not, why not? There's a plethora of reasons. Number one, Black Americans aren't foreigners, so they're not going to get the subsidies that foreigners get. A lot of these people that come and they open up their hair spots, they open up their nail salons, brow threading, all of that, they are getting extreme subsidies. So a Black American may have to pay $5,000 to $10,000 in commercial rental space to be in the decent part of town, and they could be spending $2,000 to $4,000 to be in a crappy part of town. But an immigrant, because they get subsidies in their programs that are set up for them to open businesses, can get into those same buildings literally for a tenth of the price, and I'm not even exaggerating. So another big issue that no one wants to talk about, not only is a Black American not able to get the subsidies or the reduced rates on the commercial rental spaces, they're paying more for their supplies because a lot of Asian people own these wholesale companies and they intentionally charge Black business owners more. So most of the consumers are going to say, well, I don't want to come in and spend $80 for a pedicure because they're only charging $50 over there, not realizing that that Asian business has much less overhead because they're able to tap into the subsidies, and also the vendors are selling the actual products and supplies to the Asian business owners, to the Asian nail techs, to the Asian beauty supply stores for much less than what they will sell them to the Black American vendors for. The next thing that y'all are not looking at, a lot of those people that come from other Asian countries and they work in the nail salons, they're technically working off their debt. Whoever paid or sponsored to get them here, they will go in and they will work. And I don't know if y'all have ever spoken to any of them. Sometimes they spend a year at one salon, 6 months at another salon, 8 months at another, and they're coming in and they are working, okay? In the mindset of an American, most Americans don't want to work 6 days a week, much less 7 days a week. And they don't want to work the hours that these people are working. We have an issue with just people having good work ethic in general. And it's a generational issue from millennials on down. A lot of Americans, not just Black Americans, just Americans in general, are going to tell you what they're not going to do or what they're not paid to do. They don't want to pitch in. So a lot of these salons that you're able to just go in and take walk-in service, a lot of them are family owned as well. So it's uncles, brothers, sisters, cousins, second cousins, third cousins, married in-laws that are all working in that business together, pitch in and do what they can, whether it's washing out the bowls, sweeping the floor, store, doing a pedicure, refilling the stock, wiping down the items and dusting, answering the phone. Everyone's going to do what needs to be done instead of people saying, well, I am a nail tech, so I only do nails. We also have this mentality in America. Specifically, I'm talking about millennials and downward of everyone wants to be the boss, but no one wants the responsibility. And so whenever more people can be honest and be realistic about their role and the responsibility that they can carry, then we would be able to have these walk-in salons that are Black owned. So even when we do get a Black person who has the money, they have the capital to say, you know what, I can handle this rent, even though I'm paying 8 times, 9 times, 10 times more on the rental space than my counterpart. And I will float and front load the money, and I will pay double, sometimes triple for the supplies that they're charging for other people. Now we have a problem. The Black consumers are going to keep comparing the Asian nail salon prices to the Black nail salon prices, and they're going to keep going over to the Asian salon because the Asian salon is cheaper, but it's institutionalized. Realistically, for that Black salon owner, they're probably taking home less profit, even though they're charging you more because their overhead is more. So because there's a breakdown with the consumer understanding the actual challenges that Black salon owner has, is why we don't have a lot of Black nail salons where you can just do walk-ins. So this is a multi-layered issue, but ultimately for us as Black people, if we want a Black nail salon that's walk-in with majority Black estheticians, waxers, nail techs, et cetera, we are going to have to get comfortable with paying more for those services, because the reality is that business owner they have a higher overhead than the Asian competitor, because they are not allowed to get the subsidies and the grants, and the vendors that control the supply chain are downright charging them more. And then don't even get me started on the amount of Black nail techs that refuse to do feet. That's a whole nother situation. There's a lot of
That's a whole nother situation. Because that's what I was saying. Where is the Black girl who do feet? That's what I wanted to know. Now, one time that I got my nails done, well, she didn't do my hands, she did my feet. But it was a Black girl. You know, I love getting a pedicure, honey, and I will spend top dollar for it, because honey, my feet always hurt. So I'm always wanting a good massage. You know, I'm getting the wax. I'm getting all that stuff, the paraffin wax that they put your feet in. I want the fruit in the bowl. I want all of it. So, and I don't really want you to talk to me. Maybe if it's if it was somebody like me, but usually when it's a foreigner, we kind of have a language barrier a little bit, and I don't feel like trying to figure out what you're saying, or me saying, I'm always saying, huh, what? I'm sorry, I didn't understand you, something like that. It's too much, because I'm really there to relax. So I'm all about supporting us. I am. And that doesn't mean to the detriment of somebody else, but I do feel like, because I've never really had a bad experience with the Asian nail store. I just, the Asian nail place, but I never, because I tip well. And I remember it was a time, I guess I did, you go in, I didn't make an appointment. So I went in and they stuck me with this lady I did not like. Because, I feel like if I'm coming out of here paying almost $150 to $170 to get my nails and feet done, I'm thinking my nails should look good. It's not that I should have came in there and my nails look better than when I, came in than when I left. And I'm already thinking, like my mom, she's dealing with nail fungus, toenail fungus. And I'm like, Mom, you got to think about it. Because my mom been getting her feet done for years. I said, you don't go nowhere where you're showering different places or, weird stuff like that. Only thing you do is get your feet done. I said, I almost believe you definitely caught that shit there. Because I see him, you see him do people's feet that has look crazy. They had they clean out the bowl and all that stuff real good. But when I was in that lady's comments that from the Jasmine brand that was talking about the African Americans, why they can't or don't have the walk-in nail shops, and in the comments, somebody had mentioned a lot of Black, estheticians or nail professionals. They will not do your toes if you have nail fungus. They said because those same feet, they're using the paint on everybody's feet, in those Asian nail places. And I'm like, so, Mom, you probably could have caught that there. She spent all this money to get her, so now basically she kind of gets some file down and shape, and she takes in the stuff that she needs to put on top of her feet that that her doctor had prescribed her. But I'm like, it could be defeating the purpose if they're not cleaning things out. Because when you're paying that kind of money, because the reason why I stopped getting acrylics is I would go in there, like I say, spend all my good little money up there, tip very well so they know me when I'm coming through the door. And when they went to take off the acrylics to put me on some new ones, the man noticed I had nail fungus on my fingernails. I said, what the fuck? And he looked down and because he know me, for coming in there, because, a lot of them be trying to get with me, especially, the ones that doing feet back there, because I'm tipping a lot. And he was like, who did your nails last? I'm like, that lady over there. And he just looked like, He said, I can shape them up for you, take all the acrylics off. He said, they have to just grow out. You can probably put something on there. So, because I just got my feet done. And so the owner of the place called me and said, well, you can come back and we can put gel on top of it. I'm like, hell no. Because I don't want to make the situation worse. So I was like, forget it. Because there was like 2 of my nails that were like that. And I said, that's all right. So, I went probably about 2.5, 3 months without getting my nails done. And then, just letting it go through the process. And then I waited. Then I went back to just wearing gel and no acrylics. But shit, that's like the same thing because they kind of file your nails down, put the shit on, and I'm having a hard time to getting this shit off. So what takes it off? But I don't like putting all that what do you call that, acetone or whatever, dipping your hands in it. I don't know. I just feel like in a couple of years we might find out something might be wrong with that. So I don't know. So that's the one thing on the with the the Asian boycott. So how y'all feel about that? And what I would say, because my mom said, because what did they really personally do to you? I said, no, I'm not feeling like trying to penalize anyone, but I would rather or pay the extra to get to the Black person who does, because usually they do the nails better anyways. They know what we want. They know what's in style. They know what's cultural, what's popular. So, because we the ones set the bar on the different style. So they know what's popping or whatever. It's just hard getting in with them. It's hard. You got to go through and try to make an appointment. And then I don't want to be sitting up in nobody's house. So I'm not about to do that. If you ain't in the shop, I just can't sit up. Only person's house I'm sitting in is somebody I know. I'm not sitting up in someone's house trying to get my nails done unless you have what looks like a whole shop. Like with my lady who used to do my hair, she stopped doing hair in the shop, but she had a room she turned into a shop at her home. So, and I had been going to her for years. And this is back when I used to wear my hair perm, honey. And that lady used to wear, she's an older lady, Miss Camille. Miss Camille, I'm not lying. She was from California. Miss Camille could braid, honey, braid down. And Miss Camille had to be in her late 60s and was kinky, twisted. Could braid down, and honey could press her hair. You talking about press? My daughter would get her hair pressed. And when I had, because a lot of times we would barter, I would do her taxes, and then she'll do my daughter's hair. So, so I either then that's when I would get her hair braided, and she would get like the cornrows with some like I don't know, girl. My baby looked like Sister Sledge. She was doing like the feed-in braids, but when people weren't really doing the feed-in braids, Because my baby is 33 now. She was about 10. Her braids was tight. And everybody was like, who braided her hair? I'm like, Miss Camille. So I think Miss Camille got to be about in her 80s now. So, but I mean, she could braid. Because I asked her, I said, shoot, you still doing hair? Because I sent my grandbaby over there to get her hair pressed because that lady could press her hair. Press, perm. And the only thing was, she couldn't tolerate different smells. And I remember one time I got some stuff from Bath and Body Works, lemon, lime, verbena, whatever, shower wash and lotion. And honey, that lady couldn't take it. She made me, I walked in and she made me turn around and go back home, which was another like 20 minutes out the way. So I had to go home, take a shower, then come back. And the only reason why I did that shit, because I knew she was going to lay my hair out. And I was going out of town the next day. So I had to get my hair done. I was a mad bitch, but honey, when I came out of there, my hair was laid. So yeah, those are some of the things we want to think about as far as like where, us as a community that we support one another, So I'm all for, because whatever the price is what people say. The price is the price. And if I like the service, that's where I'm going. But I don't want to go because and think, because some people, you get a bad experience with some of these folks and they think how some of us do. But then you get a bad experience. I done seen, it hasn't happened to me, but I've seen it on social media where some of them Asian people be locking people up in the goddamn shop. Or one time they beat up the lady that wasn't going to pay. I don't know. But I feel like this, if you mess up my motherfucking nails, I shouldn't have to pay nothing. We going to sit here till you get it right? Because you ain't about to send me out the door looking crazy. So that's my experience with that. Our next subject is the Texas case of Karmelo Anthony. This was, today they're supposed to have released, there's like a video that's out. Honey, I was trying to watch it. I really couldn't tell. So I didn't know what I was looking at. So I don't know. If you guys saw it, let me know. But it's supposedly that this judge went a lot of things in. And then there was supposed to have been a picture of the victim's parents along with the prosecutor. And they said the judge, but then they turned around and said it was not the judge. It was just the prosecutor. Then I heard that it wasn't a real picture. I don't know how true that was. All I do know is this young man who had never been in trouble before received such a sentence that you would, I know that young man is no longer living, but goodness, I think if it had been the other way around and the person was faced with 3 or 4 black boys coming at them or surrounding them, and they feared for their lives, I don't think we would have the same situation. Even if they would have got a manslaughter and got 5 years and so many years on parole. I mean, a life has been taken, but even in a state where there's a stand your ground law, I just don't understand it. And they are going for an appeal. I even seen where Charleston White then turned against the daddy. All kind of bullshit. I'm like, what the hell? What the daddy got to do with it? So, I don't know. Some people, I've been seeing a lot of posts about it. People talking about the things that, possibly should have happened that did not happen. And what kind of attorney. He did not have a public defender. The attorney he had used to be a public defender, but he handles cases like this. But it seems like people didn't think he did a good job. So, we got the the dad to the Metcalf boy, he out here talking shit, and I just, when I saw it, I didn't even want to even look at it because I ain't got time for it. So we have, a lot of people are talking about donating money, and what is this here? People are talking about donating money. The judge defends the Anthony trial and said it was fair, sentencing him 35 years. He seems like a nice young man who committed a crime. They said, what happened to like the first offense and all that? It's just, I thought it was a bit much, I hate to see two lives, going through something like that, but hey, if that guy would have, stayed over and minded his business, things would have been differently. He was 6'2", that boy's 5'7". He weighed over 200 pounds. This boy's, probably 130 soaking wet. So we see where the stand your ground does not work for us. Because I even remember a case where I think it was thrown out, either the woman won or it was thrown out. A case where the lady is a Black woman and she was, her estranged husband was trying to do something to her. And this was out of Florida. And this was not much after the Trayvon Martin case. Isn't that Trayvon Martin? Trayvon, with the young man who was unalive when he was 17 years old, walking and minding his own business, and the man picked a fight with him. Then he was losing the fight and then decides to, to try to off him with a weapon. Well, this lady, I don't recall her name, her estranged husband was like, I believe, trying to assault her, attack her or something. And she let off a warning shot. And they were trying to try her with attempted murder. In the state where they have stand your ground. Black lady. I think she had faced like 20 years in prison. It was crazy. And it was like unbelievable. But that's how sometimes the justice system works for us. So we have to be proactive. We have to talk to our children about regulating their emotions. Because I talk to my son daily. And my son, he's 26. He deals with the public. And sometimes you have to let the cooler heads prevail because, hey, trouble is very easy to get into and so hard to get out of. And I talk to my son. He don't, he wasn't one, wasn't no street boy or whatever, but he's dealing with, he works for, I guess it's the city. He drives the city buses. So he's dealing with a lot of drug addicts and stuff. He said, Mama, they your age, crackheads and stuff. And they be, giving him the blues. And I'm like, a lot of times, I said, some people like to see you come out of character, just, to try to make you lose your job or whatever. I said to him, hey, this is your only encounter with that person, even though you're dealing with a multitude of people on a daily basis. But it's really that one person at that point in time. You ain't never got to deal with them. You probably going to deal with them again, but not again that day, maybe. I said, so don't let somebody, you have all these goals in mind and these plans that you want to see come to fruition. You should, hey, this person and I am not on the same level. Then that's how I look at it. And I ain't got time to be arguing with somebody who ain't even got enough money for the bus fare. I just ain't, So, and that's usually what they're arguing with him about, is they get the bus pass on their phones, but they'll take a picture and not have the actual thing with the barcode. So think they was going to get over or whatever. So you got people trying to do all kind of stuff. So he had a woman cuss him out, call him out, kind of ABCDEFG group people. I don't know. So, that's the situation there. And I do wish Karmelo Anthony well. I hope that he's able to actually get an appeal quickly. Because, usually those appeals take a long time. My daughter had a friend that got caught up, and he was with the person that actually admitted that they went somewhere. The crime was really trying to get some marijuana. But the dude, for some reason, decided to go in there off everybody. And said he was thinking about offing the guy he came with because, if nobody could tell the story. But so the boy, because it happened, and a lot of the victims, because the ones who survived, say he did not do that. And the guy who actually had committed the crime, he even came back to speak and say that, the other guy didn't know that he was going to do that. But here in Indiana, that boy who did not do none of those things, but he did go on the run after it happened because he was scared. He ended up receiving, you might as well say life. He got 170 something years. I felt he took it to trial. I felt so horribly bad for this boy because here he really was a nice person. And he had no idea this boy was going to do this. And the dude said that he was going to think about doing that, offing him. And the guy who did this, his grandmother used to be on the police department. It was just a mess. It was sad. I never forget that night when it happened. Because, you don't think that when something that horrific happened, because I think it was on a Thanksgiving night or something. It was something. I think it was Thanksgiving, or either we were celebrating the holiday. So it might have been the day after or whatever, but I remember. And when it happened, I'm like, wow. This boy's has totally changed, so he's trying to get an appeal because, you could be at the wrong place at the wrong time. That's why I say be mindful of who you hang out with. So that's that situation on that, it became a racial thing with the Karmelo Anthony case. My mom told me one time her boss told her he don't have an issue when there's the same, black on black crime, white on white crime. But he has an issue when it's a black person kill a white person. So, my mom said, I have an issue when anybody is killed. But I do. And I hate this situation because, even if the young man would have gotten off or found not guilty, which I didn't think, but even that's something he's going to have to live with for the rest of his life, how his life just changed that quick. So I don't understand, can we defend ourselves? You have to think about those things. Can we defend ourselves or can we not? I think Funky Dineva, you need to probably, when I was getting by my house, and I would say this, I did not want to live in an area that was where my kids were going to be the only. I didn't want them going to a school where they were going to be the only. No, I did not want that. No. I don't want them feeling like they don't fit in. I want them to go to school and they see other kids that look like them. I like to see a nice mix of kids, And even the school I went to, I graduated from, is called Southside. And Southside, we had black kids, white kids. We even had some kids from that were immigrants. That wasn't popular when I was coming through school, but we had some Ethiopians there, and other kids from other countries. Our school was the feeder high school for the magnet programs at the middle school level. So Our school was the only walk-in school. So the only way you can go there is if you live by the school. So you had kids from all backgrounds, because on one side in the zip code 06, you have middle class to lower middle class. 07, you had middle class to high middle class earners. Okay, so that's the mix of kids over there. You had, single parents, homes. We didn't have any like, really no apartments, where you see people from projects. We had none of that, because there really wasn't no projects near the school. So you have these different diverse backgrounds, and I thought my school was great. Even when we went back for the reunion, which they did like a couple grades that they did, 89 to 93. Predominantly that was there was the Black kids. Now they had other reunions I've been to where, like our class reunion, it was the whole class, but it just seemed like this event, because this girl, she threw a night. They got another one that's supposed to come in up in, I think, 2027, where they're going to do a cruise. They done one before, I think about 3 years ago, and they doing it again. So I missed that one. So hopefully this time I can go to the one that's coming up. But what I would like to say, like our sports, track team, we're, predominantly Black. But, but you have the different clubs and everything. I mean, our school, I played in a band. I played the clarinet. I was in the marching band. That was predominantly, mostly white kids. We had Black kids in there, but predominantly white. You had jazz band, which a good friend of mine, she sang in the jazz band. We had, the people who did the plays. I was in the Afro-American club, so that was a big thing at our school. It's one of the biggest ticket sellers at our school, because we would put on a 2-day event, and it was basically a high school musical put on by Black kids. Basically, we got modeling, singing, dancing, and the whole inside of a story of whatever. Usually it's the seniors who, the president of the club would come up with the story, and then we fit in all these different scenes. I was always in the girls' dance group, so that was my thing. So my senior year, I was over the girls' dance. We do an opening number with everybody in the Afro-American club. We come in from the aisles, and then we get up on the stage and everybody's doing the opening number. So when I was in high school, stepping was one of the big things back then. So we would have, our school was known for we call it the talent show, but it really wasn't a talent show. It was basically a musical, but it was called the Soul Review. And our school was so good because the band guy, we had the one-man band, it was Marshall White, who actually became over like the Fort Wayne Children's Choir, who actually did, they did a concert in China. He come in, like back in the days, and I was in Afro-American from 1980, I began 86 to 90, spring of 1990, fall of 86. And we would, the big thing was the talent show. But what I would say is that we had, some white kids would, join the Afro-American club. We had one guy named Yanni. But I mean, we would have, that was a big thing, because that made a lot of money at our school. And most of the kids from other schools would want to come. I mean, like, my senior year, I modeled a 2-piece swimsuit. The school, and I think from that came through was Miss Davis, but this was something I think started in the 1970s, and it kept going into, I think, like the early 90s. And then they had something that was called the Showdown, which all kids from all other schools got a chance to be in. Because used to be back then, it was like only like 4 schools that, and couldn't nobody compare to ours. So we would have the talent show. We would have it Friday night. We would say that with parent night. And then Saturday night when the kids came, and everybody cut loose. And then we would have the after party after that. We would have found a venue for us to have rented, and then they make the money by people coming in. But that was a big thing. And then like I say, the senior play, which was predominantly probably mostly the white kids. But some black kids were in there. But that was a big thing. I mean, they put on, like my senior year, they did The King and I. They put on a very good play. Very good talent, because some of the people who sang in this The King and I, they sang in our talent show. So I mean, we had very talented people who played the soprano saxophone, sound just as good as Kenny G. White boy named I think his name was Michael, I forgot what, Chris Richardson. And we were all in band together. So, but like I said, that school was very diverse. Most of our schools here in the town were diverse, but I would say that school, we didn't really deal with a lot of people that was probably impoverished. I'm not saying that it wasn't, but most people who probably lived in the area, most came from a working family, most probably blue collar, as you got some of the other kids, a lot of white collar families on the other side of the school. But yeah, we all went to school together. So when we're talking about, Funky didn't even talk about being in spaces where we're not you're not just tolerated, but we're celebrated. And I do feel like, in the Anthony case, that him being in a situation where he was supposed to be judged by a jury of his peers in that the jurors were supposed to be of his peers, and they were not. There was not one black person on there. And then the black people that were disqualified were all school teachers, which I thought, So, it's a lot. And so when we're seeing the contrast of Mr. Child taking out a life of a kid that's running away and calling it self-defense, and then a boy who's actually feeling like he was under attack and pushed or hit. They said he was grabbed by his shirt too. Defend himself, and he gets 35 years. So that's the difference there. I mean, that's crazy. We're like, I guess we don't have any kind of justice for us. So we have one of the ladies speaking up about it, and I'm going to let that one play real quickly. Okay. So we got Dr. Candace Matthews just dropped some receipts on Greg Lewis, the Collin County District Attorney who oversaw the prosecution of Karmelo Anthony. So what she dropped? Okay.
I ain't come out here to play. Bring it on. I came out here since you over here want to call this boy a murderer. Then we're gonna take the covers off you. Ain't no way in hell that you need to be a damn DA with this foolishness. Did you know? Hold this, please. I got you. That there is a 75-page federal lawsuit for sexual harassment of the DA that was saying that Karmelo Anthony is a murderer. Well, you need to be a registered sex offender, sucker. Let me read. We ain't know that. The pot calling the kettle black cow, but you the whole DA out here. Oh, so you thought y'all was the only one that could go in PACES. And let me explain to you what PACES is. PACES is the database for federal lawsuits. See, we have a research team, baby. That's ain't come out here to play. Bring it on. I came out here since you over here want to call this boy a murderer. That's colder than the media. So let me go ahead and read a little bit of it and show you how disgusting this joke is.
It's serious.
After Jane Doe 1 refused defendant Willis, ain't that his name, Greg Willis? Oh, okay. Advances at the Galveston TDCAA conference, he treated her quite differently in the workplace. He began demeaning and berating her. In one closed door meeting, he told her, "You think like a child and I would treat you like a child." Defendant Willis likely appreciated the gender slurring that is implicit in a male supervisor telling a female employee that she thinks like a child. Oh, wait a minute, it gets better. Hold on. More than once, she tried to break free, but he held her tighter. These physical encounters were that's colder than the media. Were unwanted and sexual in nature. Jane Doe 1 eventually put in for a position in the Victim Assistance Division and got it in December 2020. This role put her under the supervision of Chief Prickle. With moaning continued, the most recent of the sexualized hugs back in April 2022. We got a damn freak for the DA. But you want to talk about...
Okay. I probably should have watched it first. But I guess she's saying for him to be the prosecutor or the DA, you had a case against you. And it said that in that case, I think there was a settlement. Yes, it was a $1.75 million settlement was finalized to completely resolve the case. Paid by Collin County's private insurance policy. Injured knees, they got this number to call. So it was a federal lawsuit accusing him of systematic sexual harassment and inappropriate touching with subordinates. And that is the Collin County District Attorney who oversaw the prosecution of Karmelo Anthony. You know, most of these people be crooked anyways. You know, I don't expect much for none of them. You know, not the way, you know, it's just like the movie Life. Remember how they did Eddie and Martin Lawrence? They had nothing to do with that crime, but what they got? Life. So, you know, the law wasn't made for us, so it is what it is. So let's go over and let's talk about some housewife stuff. Because that's what I like to talk about. Did y'all watch the episode Sunday? And let me know what y'all thought about the housewives this week. I thought it was good. I really did. I see Drew lied. And people are, I mean, you know, I have a housewife group over here on Facebook. And some of them are, you know, hardcore Porsha fans. I like all the girls. Whatever. But I can call somebody out on some bullshit. And I feel like the big fight that's going to happen between Porsha and Shamea, as we see this episode that just aired this weekend, episode 11 of season 17, it's because the women are starting all this shit. Shamea is not talking about Porsha. She learned her lesson last season. She ain't saying shit about Porsha. They want to talk about her. So Drew had said while they were all at her house that Shamea wanted to talk about Porsha. And then the clip they showed is the person who brought up Porsha was Drew. Drew said, because Shamea said, I don't get what's the problem between me and you because we don't really have a beef. And Drew said, no, we really didn't. I just caught strays because I was beefing with your best friend last year. And then she brought up Porsha when they were at the table after the Star Spangled Banner singing she did, and her and Kay and Drew were out to eat. And when Kay got up and left. So, and then Drew brings up about Shamea being Porsha's lapdog. So I said, Drew messy as hell. Because she like to stir shit. But I feel like then Cynthia kind of jumped on it too and said, well, yeah, Porsha, Shamea was talking about you. You asked Shamea, why didn't she invite Porsha? And Shamea said we were in a weird space. And plus, when we had the text argument, and she didn't really say what all the argument about, but she said some derogative things about her marriage. So, hell no, I'm not inviting her. And I'm inviting Dennis because Dennis and my husband are still friends. And Dennis and her husband, they have play dates with the kids. So, Pilar and Shamea, little girl, they still hang out. They still cousins. So I think the fallout between them, and I'm hoping at the reunion, I guess I should have sent some questions to Andy, because I really want to call out Angela, even though this episode, the ladies kind of uplifted Angela, but to me, Angela is very two-faced. And that's my opinion, because she talks her shit in her confessional, but she does not say that shit to Porsha's face. She called her all kind of hoes in the confessional, saying Porsha will sleep with your man. All that kind of stuff. So I'm really feeling like Angela, to me, is, everyone is needed. I would say she's the pot stirrer, but she is the one who, to me, is running all the shit back. And then when they say, well, Shamea is having side conversations, what the fuck is the Fabulous Five doing? Or the Core Four, whatever the fuck they call themselves. They're having side get-togethers. They already had a dinner. Now they're over to Drew's house, where you got the basement man down there. So I feel like, the group is definitely divided. And yes, I feel like Cynthia has picked a side. And everybody's trying to get along with Porsha, because Porsha is the face of the show right now. I don't have, I'm here for a good show. So, I hate that it's gotten so ugly between them two, but they're not really bringing up nothing. They're kind of just coexisting. So I don't know what happens in Scotland, but I feel like the reason why the shit is going to happen, because Angela and Drew and now Cynthia has kind of jumped on that bandwagon trying to figure out. And I feel like, because they're not really coming to Porsha and say, hey, Porsha, why are you not? Only person that asked Porsha about it was Giselle. But the rest of them, they're coming to Porsha. And, Porsha's just kind of like, we could coexist. But I did like the fact that when they had the skating party, all the women were having fun. There was no mess brought. Pinky brought it together. Pinky is one who should be on the show. Why everybody's talking about, oh, them girls need to leave. But the Fabulous Five or Core Four or whatever the fuck you want to call them, none of them got a storyline. Because if they didn't have Kelli, if they didn't have Shamea, if they didn't have crazy ass K Michelle or Pinky, what would we be talking about? What would we be talking about? Porsha trying to figure it out between this fake relationship with this guy named Mike or Sway. Angela, we finally got a little personal stuff about, still dealing with her mother's death. Drew, we talking about everything but the marriage. Drew got 20 people on her payroll, but nobody can help her get her kids to school. We have not, I don't feel like got a personal story about Drew. Damn sure ain't getting one from Phaedra. Phaedra gonna be in the Phaedra there for for stunts and shows. That's that's what she is. She's gonna do some outlandish whatever, event or something. And only one's giving out on that side, that's the front of the show, is Cynthia. So we had a mess back and forth between Drew and Kelli. Now, I will say this. Drew is Porsha Jr. I could swear that last year, I think it was either the reunion, because, Porsha rolled Drew ass. He drug her good last year. But Porsha had made a statement that Drew was trying to be her. And I honestly believe her. Because to me, it looks like Drew is trying to be her. She looks like, Porsha 2.0 to me. That's what it looks like to me, and that's what it's given. So I she got the go naked hair. I think if I would have had a body that looked something, like people were going to compare me, I'd have did my hair totally different. It would be the bust down with the long hair. I would have myself look so totally different. A nice style to my face, but it would be different because I'm going with a whole new body, so I got a whole new look going on. But to me, her whole new look is being a Porsha light. She Drew Williams as Rodney the Voice said. He calls her Drew Williams. So then we have the whole issue with, like I said, Shamea and Porsha, which really wasn't nothing this season because they're not really saying anything to each other. But all the outside noises is, and the other women are trying to get it started. So it's going to get started about the mamas. So I just like to see how this is going to pan out. But I will say Pinky was a very good addition. We got a chance to see Maury. You are the father. Or you're not the father. But Maury Povich on the show. We got a chance to see Notori on the show. We also got Montel Jordan this week. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. Oh my goodness, my screen is. She didn't give us much in the storyline. And what did Pinky call her? Beyonce. Because she said Drew feels like she's Beyonce. But, I'm enjoying the season so far. But I'm glad we got to where it's lighthearted, funny. They threw funny shade. But I wish the group had some kind of cohesiveness, this thing with Porsha and Shamea, even though it's unspoken, but it's spoken. And there's two sides. So, that's how that goes. And then Drew's divorce is finally, it is finally done. And Ralph Pittman was out there giving shouts out to the attorney. Said it's the attorney that Dennis set him up with, and she did everything that he expected her to do because Dennis told him that that's what she was going to do. And let me see if I can find it. Lord. Well, I thought I had it saved. Maybe not. But anyway, so he said the attorney that he got was because of Dennis. And Dennis is the one. He used this attorney, I guess, when Porsha and he was going for joint custody. And like, wait a minute. And it's like, oh, hold on, man. You need to go back into the basics, basically. Because you're being petty and you're bringing up a situation that no one even knew about, that they actually went through like a custody issue or whatever, or settled it or however. And, you know, Dennis didn't like it, you know. So let's look at boy being petty. Let me see if I can find it real quickly. Because I'm like, I thought I marked it, but maybe not. Like I said, this live today, it was about not going to happen because it took me a long time to get that boy sleep. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Let's see here. To get him sleep. So I'm like, will I be able to do this live or not? Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Let me see where I'm at on StreamYard. Okay. So Dennis says Ralph is tripping. This comes after Ralph thanked Dennis for his divorce attorney. So here it goes. He says, this is from Dennis McKinley. Go downstairs to the basement and tell Ralph he tripping on the announcement. It says, here's the announcement from Ralph Pittman Jr. This has been one of the most challenging chapters of my life, but I am grateful for the people God placed around me to help me walk through it with faith, strength, and grace. I'm forever grateful to my attorney at Miss Precious Anderson. Thank you for believing in me, standing beside me and guiding me through this difficult process with wisdom, dedication, and integrity. At Dennis McKinley, thank you for connecting me with Precious. She did everything you said she would, just like she helped you get joint physical custody. To everyone who prayed, encouraged, and supported my family, especially our children, thank you. Your grace and kindness mean more than you know. No one wins when the family feuds. My focus now is peace, healing, and continue to show up for my children with love, strength, and consistency. Nothing matters more than being the father they need me to be. Because you know he got custody of the kids and Drew got to pay child support. And then Ty, he chimes in, he goes, bro, I hope you find peace, love, health as you enter this next chapter in your life. God is good. Ralph, thanks, bro. God is the greatest. Lord have mercy. So, Ralph on here being messy and including Dennis and Porsha in his mess, being petty as hell. Dennis said, go down in that basement and get him. That motherfucker tripping. Negro, I ain't tell you to mention me and shit. I'm trying to work on whatever I got going on over here, and I don't need to be pissing this girl off. Because we see it in this episode, Dennis gave her that ring back. I took it as to say that he didn't have nothing else to do with it. So I thought he was just giving it back. I got to go back and rewatch it again before we do this live. I didn't take it that he was trying to propose to her. And I think that's why I thought she got so upset and threw it back at him. Y'all let me know. Did y'all think Dennis was trying to propose? I thought he was just trying to give her the ring back to let her know that, you know, he's trying to move on with his life and he had no purpose for the ring anymore. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments about that. So I would say the charity case of this week was Kelli. And like I said, Kelli and Drew, they was back and forth. Drew calling her a stuffed Cornish hen on Watch What Happened Live. So Kelli clapped back when we see the before and after of Drew. And like I said, Drew, she got her body right, because that first body makeover, I can't tell it did nothing. And that's what I was saying, when you're slim back in the neck, you know, it wasn't a big deal really for the women to be just built like that. So, you know, when she's thin, things don't look weird, because, you know, when you're thin, you just don't. But, you know, as you get bigger and wider, you know, she just kind of got square shape. You know, everything was straight up and down. You know, what they call it, SpongeBob shape is what I call it, you know. So she said, because she already had curves. I don't know where the curves went, because I had curves and my curves just got bigger. So she said she had curves, but honey, she went and got her body done. And I thought to myself, you're getting your body done, but you won't move out the house? And you complain and say you won't have enough money to live? It's not a good look. But Drew looks nice. So I guess she's trying to get that whole complete package done. So maybe she can, you know, have the visible look where she can sell more albums. You know, I thought, you know, Drew looks nice in the face. So now she's going to have the body to go with it. And honey, all around looking like Porsha, I guess. So I have a question for you. Are you guys team Shamea, team Porsha, team Drew, team Kelli? In this week, I am going to say I am probably team Shamea, but Shamea, girl, why you tell Kay about Candy them? I don't think Shamea is stirring the pot about all the things that's going on the show, but about the stuff with the candy coated clique, going back and telling Kay with Rashida and Toya and them are saying, you know, the women from another show. I don't know. You know, we got to have some mess on the show or whatever. But yeah, that's it. And I hope that Shamea and Porsha be able to make it back from this, because it doesn't feel fun. Like, say if Shamea and Porsha was never friends and, you know, they just kind of got together on the show, but knowing that they had been friends since childhood, I just don't see how the show can go on with both of them on there and kind of actively not speaking to each other. Because we don't know what happened. We don't. All we know is what we saw at the last episode of the show. Then when we saw at the reunion, it kind of was, it just didn't make sense. But who knows? Maybe it come to a head and maybe they can make it back. I don't know. But it seems like if they're going to continue like this, it's not going to be good for the group. I would say that. So then, you know, that's the Housewives stuff. I see Martell and what's her name? Melody having shit out there. Martell said, you know, he's been exonerated of, you know, or whatever. And Melody lied on him, said he did something to the kids or whatever. All I'm saying is, God damn, they've been divorced for a little bit now. Why is they still going through these changes? Oh my God. I don't understand it. I mean, it's like continuing forever. Is this going to go on till little sugar mama get 18, 19, 20 years old? And she got on, Melody's supposed to have a warrant. I don't know. It's too much for me to even think about. You know, because I'm like, damn. You know, I'm from divorced parents, but shit. They ain't do shit like this. They went back and forth in courts like that. Hell, they cool, you know. My mom going to visit my dad in the nursing home. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on everything. I wanted to end it on a light note when we're talking about these reality shows. And right now, Indiana does have the Indie Bosses that I don't know when it's going to start airing, but I did see it on Yandy's Instagram. Brandy made me aware of it because I had no idea of it. And I went to go and look on hers, but we had played the clip of the official trailer. So looks like we'll be getting like some kind of like bill collectors. These women claiming they making 6 or 7 figures. I can't tell it, but who knows? But that's it. That's all. I'm gonna get out of here. It's after 12. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. And stay tuned for more Word on the Curb. We'll be doing I was about to say Married to Medicine. Real Housewives of Atlanta review tomorrow evening. So I would say to you all, stay safe, stay informed, and I'll catch you guys the next time. Good night.